Hello and welcome to Pandora's Box. This is Kaleah. And today, the topic of our podcast is let's talk about Narcissus, the myth behind narcissism. A narcissus is actually a beautiful flower that blooms in the spring that we call a daffodil. When I was young, I used to walk in the forest by my home in the Pacific Northwest, and in the spring, these beautiful yellow trumpet-shaped flowers were blooming everywhere. They were some of my favorites. So how did something so beautiful become the root of a name of something so ugly and destructive? Well, in order to understand the relationship between Narcissus the flower and the narcissist, we have to go back to Greek mythology. You see, Narcissus was the name of a mythological figure who was known for his beauty. He was the son of the river god Cephisus and a nymph named Liriope. When Narcissus was young, his mother Liriope went to a seer named Tiresias to ask her if her son would live a long life. And Tiresias responded that Narcissus would live a long life as long as he never knew himself. Of course, this was a strange response for Liriope. She didn't understand what this meant. As Narcissus grew into an adult, his beauty attracted many admirers, but he was not interested in any of them. One admirer in particular was a forest nymph named Echo. Echo was punished by the goddess Hera, who took her ability to speak, all except the ability to repeat the last words of another. When she saw Narcissus, she fell hopelessly in love with him and would follow him around. And since she could not speak to him or call out to him, all she could do was gaze upon his beauty. Narcissus noticed he was being followed and asked, who goes there? And all Echo could do is repeat, there, there, there. She made herself known to Narcissus, who rejected her, causing her to withdraw and hide in the forest. Her love for Narcissus caused her to waste away until only her voice remained, a lonely, haunting echo in the forest. Meanwhile, Narcissus, catching his own reflection in a pool of water, fell deeply in love with the image he saw in the pool. He had rejected all suitors until now, but the only one he fell deeply and madly in love with was his own reflection. It was not real, but it was so captivating to Narcissus that he could not leave. Some say Narcissus fell into the pool and drowned. Others say he remained there staring at his own reflection until he finally died. A beautiful flower, a daffodil, which we call a narcissus, grew there on the edge of the pool where Narcissus sat forever gazing at himself. And this flower was called a narcissus. Narcissus is sometimes called the god of vanity because he became obsessed with his reflection. But in this myth, Narcissus could not tell fantasy from reality. He pined away for something he could never touch or have. He was destined to always long for and want an image that wasn't real. In a sense, Narcissus rejected real suitors for his own reflection, but he did not know that this was his own reflection. So he's a little clueless. The tragedy of the mythological tale is that both Narcissus and Echo met a terrible fate. Neither got what they wanted. Both wasted away by their love of something or someone they could never have. If we go back to the seer, Tiresias, who told Narcissus' mother, Liriope, Narcissus would live a long life as long as he knew himself, it would make more sense that she would have said Narcissus would live a long life as long as he never saw himself. Because Narcissus never did know himself. He saw an illusion, which wasn't really him. He was not the reflection in the pool. That reflection gave Narcissist no insight into himself. And in the end, it was his demise. Now, the mental disorder called narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder emerged from the myth of Narcissus, because Narcissus was known to be the god of vanity. He had no interest in real love, and he was cruel to his suitors. Narcissism was first identified in 1898. The personality disorder was characterized by a constant need for compliments and validation, an overblown sense of one's own accomplishments, a tendency to expect special treatment and favors from others, lack of empathy for other people, a tendency to dominate conversations, and become fixated on perfection. Of course, since 1898, we've learned a lot more about narcissism, including that there's a lot more to it than these simple explanations. And there are also some distinct differences between narcissists and a narcissist. But I would like to do a deep dive into the myth of Narcissus and make some comparisons to the phenomenon we experience as narcissism in this day and age. The first thing that we need to get clear is that Narcissus did not know himself at all. He was self-absorbed and self-involved. He was also obsessed with his own reflection. He lacked empathy, and that he cared nothing for those who cared so much for him. And he was even cruel and dismissive to his suitors. He was a god, but perhaps far too self-important. Echo was cursed far before she saw Narcissus for the first time. Her curse was considered to be a result of being so talkative prior to losing her ability to speak that she upset the goddess Hera because her long-windedness caused Hera to miss the opportunity to spy on one of Zeus's amours, love relationships. Love makes both people and gods crazy. Of course, Echo fell in love with Narcissus because of his beauty. She didn't know him. She had not spent any time with him or even talked to him. She followed him around because he was beautiful. She admired him. Echo also fell in love with an illusion, the same illusion Narcissus was in love with. When Echo could not have her illusionary love, she withered away into nothing. She had no real sense of self, so she and Narcissus suffered the same fate. They both died pining away for the illusion of love, something that was never real. In our culture today, we also put so much importance on physical beauty and attractiveness and often don't bother to look deeper beneath the facade or surface to see what's really there. Many of us tend to fall in love with an illusion, whether that be appearance, beauty, the illusion of success and/or brilliance. Most of the people I work with who have been involved with narcissists tell me they were attracted to the narcissist's good looks, charm, charisma, sexuality, talent, and/or material success. They were charmed into believing something deeper existed. But as they went deeper in, they quickly discovered the shallow nature of the relationship. Perhaps that person too easily became interested in other things or other love interests. Perhaps they, like narcissists, were dismissive, disinterested, cold, and cruel. As long as narcissist is staring deeply and intently at his own reflection, he can imagine whatever he wants to be there. Within that romantic illusion, he can project his ideal. But narcissists dismissed and turned away from any real possibilities for love. Real love means there are two people in the relationship, and both have their opinions, ideas, and beliefs that may differ. Narcissus, in his godlike superiority, had no time for differences. If one was not the perfect complement to him, he was not interested. And when he met his own reflection, it was but a beautiful face in the mirror. There was nothing there to challenge him to be a greater version of himself. There was nothing there to teach him how to love and care and have empathy and concern for another. He not only fell in love with his own reflection, but his own projection. He projected ideal love and beauty onto the image. This was a projection that wasn't going to talk back or challenge him. He could say, "I love you" to the image, and it was saying it back to him at the very same time. Such synchronicity, such a deep connection. Echo, on the other hand, felt that if she was not seen, loved, and valued by this beautiful creature, then she was nothing. And therefore, she wasted away to nothing. She had no value within herself. She needed another to reflect to her her value. She was lost in needing the object of her illusionary love to love and admire her the way she did him. Perhaps the story of Narcissus is more about idealized love than anything else. Perhaps it represents the crazy side of love and relationships. Perhaps it represents the pining away for what we can never have, the obsession, being lost in an illusion, projecting our ideal onto the other, and putting too much importance on the other affirming us. In the myth, Narcissus falls in love with his own reflection, and so does Echo. Both fall in love with the same illusion. The narcissists of the world fall in love with their fantasy of self, and the echoes of the world fall in love with the narcissist's fantasy of himself. But both are lost because they are both in love with the fantasy. Both never really have what they want. The narcissists of the world simply leave one object of their fantasy and project it onto another. They become discouraged when the object of their fantasy doesn't behave the way they imagine it should. So they find another object to project upon. But the reality is they never have what they want because they are projecting their fantasy upon someone who is a real, live human being with their own ideas, beliefs, wants, needs, and desires. So Narcissus is always doomed to fail. He will never have the object of his desire, just as the mythological Narcissus will never have the object in the pool. He will pine away after this fantasy to the very end. The Narcissus of our world leaves behind him a trail of damaged echoes, who not only do not find their fulfillment in their own fantasy, but are never really loved by Narcissus and feel that without his love, they cannot exist. So they wither away and die. Or they wake up and find their voice again. They cease to be an echo And instead, they speak the truth from a place deep inside their own soul. I am enough on my own. I don't need you to be happy and fulfilled. I don't need your validation. I don't need you to see me. I don't need you to hear me. I don't need you to value me. I can find value in myself. Perhaps Echo can find her way back to life again and walk over to where the narcissus flower grows and say, poor Narcissus, he's dead. And she reaches down and plucks the flower and pulls at his petals and says with her newfound voice, he loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not. And then she drops the remains of the flower to the earth, walks off into the forest, reborn, and ready to find real love. Well, I hope this has been fun and entertaining to you as it was for me to create it. I love mythology. It's so much fun, and fantasy because it really brings to light some things we may not be able to see otherwise. Don't you agree? So if you would like to learn more about my work with narcissism, please visit my website, narcissismfree.com. And I shall see you in the next podcast. Have a great day.